There was a time I was a single mom. The house was going in foreclosure. And at that point, I did not have a job either. And that was the biggest fear, is that survival fear.
What's the cleanest way to explain shadow work to someone who's never heard the term without making it sound mystical or scary?
One of the biggest one is I'm not good enough.
For someone dealing with chronic stress, low energy, or emotional overwhelm, what's one thing they misunderstand about their body, and what's a better way to see it?
We create a different identity, which is just tired. Tired of running, tired of fixing, tired of doing, tired of not being who they truly are.
If someone watching or listening feels overwhelmed and wants a simple starting point, what are 3 practical steps they can take in the next 7 days?
I am this life. I am existence. Everything is part of the same structure. Even now, through scientific words in quantum physics, they're coming back and saying the same thing.
Nobody arrives there by accident. What were the chapters you had to live through before you could guide others?
The funny thing is, we're trying to control life. We have no control even of this body that we sort of are home.
Welcome back. Today's guest is Atousa Raissyan. Atousa is an author, artist, and a spiritual mentor whose work lives at the intersection of healing, creativity, and conscious living. She's the author of Change Yourself, Change the World, a book that invites people to move from fear-based living toward love-led choices, and a contributor to several collective works on shadow, wholeness, creativity, and the sacred feminine. Beyond the books, Atousa is also a painter and visionary artist. Her art, like her writing, isn't decoration. It's a language, a way of processing pain, beauty, memory, and meaning. What drew me to Atousa is that she doesn't sell shortcuts. She talks honestly about shadow, about healing that takes time, and about what freedom actually costs on the inside before it shows up on the outside. This conversation is about health, wealth, and freedom, not as buzzwords, but as lived practices. It's about fear, love, art, money, identity, and what it means to stay human in a world that keeps speeding up. If you care about depth, clarity, and living with intention, this one is worth staying for. Atousa, it's an honor to have you on Beyond the Summit.
Thank you so much for having me. The honor is really mine. And thank you for that wonderful introduction.
I'm glad you're here. Thank you so much. People often meet you through your work, the clarity, the calm, the depth, but nobody arrives there by accident. What were the chapters you had to live through before you could guide others?
I always have used my life as an example for others and my clients and anything that I've gone through. And I say, because my biggest thing is that if I can do it, you can do it. Often I feel, even in my own journey, I've had, gurus that I looked up and read their work and tried to model them. But it was a sense of, well, the guru lives in the ashram and it's not in the lived world of, especially these days, how we live through things. And so it was hard to relate to them. But I think because I share what I've lived through my childhood and even into adulthood with not just my clients, but through these podcasts, through my book and speaking engagements, I get them to see it is doable. It is. I don't want to sell people a better version of themselves. You're not coming to make a joke saying, you're not giving me your Toyota for a Porsche. You're giving away your Toyota or whatever, and I'm going to let you have whatever it is that you want. If you want the Porsche, great. But even there's a life beyond that Porsche. There's a truth that you are space. You can even fly. You can do all those things. So it's more of getting them to see the truth in themselves. And if I can use my own examples and if they can see me as a sort of a human that has done this, then it gets easier for them. It's like, she's done it, so I can get there too.
That's beautiful. That is absolutely real. People trust the truth of a lived path more than a perfect story. Can you name a moment when you realized fear wasn't just a feeling? It was quietly steering your decisions, your relationship, and maybe your identity.
I had gotten glimpses of it before, but the biggest part when I had to sit, it was after I had gone through or during the process of divorce. I don't know which one came first at this point, but there was a time I was a single mom. The house was going in foreclosure. And at that point, I did not have a job either. So it wasn't an income that was coming. And I had sort of isolated myself for the reason that there was so much going on. So I needed to process things and I needed to shed some things. And that was the biggest fear is that survival fear. I'm a mom, I have a young kid, and I'm about to lose the house. What am I going to do? And sitting with that, and I've shared the story with clients. I don't know if on any of the podcasts, there were days that I would just sit there and just like rock myself. And throughout the day, I would just say, I trust, I trust, I trust. This is just a fear. I'm not gonna let it run because everybody was coming from me different angles, like neighbors, like, you know, when your house goes on foreclosure, even the neighborhood gets afraid, you're gonna bring the values down. And so everybody was giving me advice. This is ridiculous. You need to sell the house. You need to do this. And it was like, for the first time, I'm not gonna let fear run this, that I'm gonna run to a solution, that I have to do something. I'm going to see what feels good in this moment and follow my heart for the first time. And that was it. And I did come out of it still in the same house.
I love that. That kind of moment changes everything. Thank you for going there. In your work, you talk about fear based versus love based choices. In the middle of a busy day, what are your tells, the signals in your body or mind that reveal which one you are in?
At this point, honestly, everything flows naturally. So, but when you are, I always tell people, depends. Fear also for some people is just a little bit of fear. And for a lot of people, depending on what they have grown from into, it's like a PTSD. So you already know the signs, like there's energy that rushes through to the head and you feel the heaviness in the head. You sort of feel the heaviness in the chest, most likely. Stomach, that's the biggest place that we hold things as well. Intestine, stomach. So your body's giving you signals. It's just you have to tune in and be aware of it. And when that happens, I always tell people, come back into your natural rhythm of the body, not follow some sort of I have to do my breath this way. I have to do this right now. I have to, it's more like, hey, be reminded your body's working naturally. You're not even controlling this body. The funny thing is we're trying to control life. We have no control even of this body that we sort of are home, because the breath is natural, heartbeat is natural, blood flow, even pooping and peeing. Everything is natural. You cannot stop it. You cannot control it. So come back to that knowledge that everything's flowing naturally, and just catch with that breath and heartbeat and that rhythm of your body. And then the choice becomes easier because you're not letting your mind run with things. And also in the book, I give even an example that even if at that point you don't know which one is which, imagine it in a box, or if it's actual something that you can hold, bring those different choices into your chest area and you'll get a different feeling of what it's like. It's like, oh no, this one has a better feel. It feels easier, this choice. And that's a heart-based choice.
Beautiful. I believe that's the kind of clarity people can use today, not just admire. A lot of people feel stuck right now, not lazy not unmotivated, just heavy. What do you think sits underneath that heaviness most often?
Majority of us, if not every human, has an identity which I call the fixer, the doer. And the fixer and doer shows up pretty much in the early childhood because we are trying to make sure we're accepted, loved, and wanted in our community, in our family. So we're constantly looking to fix things and do things in the right way. And that fixer and doer, there's a judgment attached to it, right? Because it's looking at everything. If this is good, this is bad. This is right, this is wrong. And that fixer and doer is constantly moving, doing things. So with that, we create a different identity, which is just tired, tired of running, tired of fixing, tired of doing, tired of not being who they truly are and creating these images and roles to be in, again, either their family or work or friendships outside in their culture. And that tired one is the one that creates the heaviness of everything because it's constantly the other one is saying, you gotta push, 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 you gotta work through this. And the other one's like, I've been doing it and I'm tired. And if you just even realize both of those, their identities, they're not real. They're created from the mind and patterns and behaviors. Then again, you come back into your center, which is peace, bliss, consciousness, and that heaviness lightens up again.
I love that. Just what you mentioned puts words to something many people carry silently. When the news cycle is intense and the world feels unstable, what's a grounded way to stay informed without becoming emotionally hijacked?
Stay out of social media for one thing, or clean your feed. I always tell people clean your feed, because the social media, everything in the media, unfortunately, fear sells. You know, if I can manipulate you through the fear, oh, you need this thing. This is going to fix that problem you have. Again, going back to give me your Toyota. I'm going to give you a Porsche, a better version of you. So that fear is constantly out there. And the fear is why the world is the way it is, because it gives the people that use the fear, gives them power, gives them control. And so what I tell people is, yeah, clean your social media feed and come to a place, again, that natural rhythm of your body that you can't even control this body. How are you going to control anything out there?
Hmm,
That there is a pattern, there is a rhythm to life and cycles as well. So start building in that trust and believe in that everything is as is and it's going to be as it needs to be. It happens for a purpose. And you can even look back into your own life, into things that has happened in the world, and you see it's like, well, this needed to happen for this to happen. There is a
absolutely.
pattern.
Yeah. Beautiful. So that's such an important line to walk. I appreciate you naming that. If you had to name the top two or three invisible battles people are fighting right now inside their mind, their nervous system, their relationships, what are they?
One of the biggest one is I'm not good enough.
Hmm.
And the
Where
other
does that
one,
come from?
I'm not good enough is most of it, honestly, is from childhood. Everything goes back to childhood and everything, some of it is because it's passed down from generation to generation. If I'm a parent that I don't feel good enough, I don't feel loved. If I have a kid, I want my kid is a extension of me. So if I don't feel good enough, I have to improve myself. I'm constantly wanting to improve my kid. So my kid is good enough out there as well, right? If I don't feel loved and I'm constantly trying to do things so that others love me and want me, then I'm going to do those same things, make sure my kid does those same things that so the kid is loved and wanted. So you see how this is how it gets passed down. Those things that those identities, feelings, emotions we have inside, it all gets passed down. Just like the DNA, we know right now all those illnesses, everything, what do they ask? What runs in your family? High blood pressure and strokes and, heart attacks, things like that. So they look at your family history. So all those illnesses had an emotional tie to them. It happened because something emotionally was going on in that person's life. And then so that same thing is passing down in the DNA as well. So it's mostly childhood and
That's one of the most important battles. I'm not good enough. How about the other things that are people are mainly struggling these days? Because these are the after each episode I receive a lot of, comments and questions and important things. These things are among the most repeated ones. People want a solution, want to know what's going on, how they can deal with these sort of uncertainty or struggles, or even we can call them battles.
yes. So with that, I'm not good enough is that not feeling loved or wanted. And the other one is the innate human survival fear that I need this, this, this in order to survive, which is money to have shelter, food. So money gives you shelter and food. So you need money and then you need support, right? You need some kind of either partner, family, community, some sort of support structure. And that survival fear, then we're constantly running around making us move to make sure that we have the money. So that's work hard, do this, do that to have the money. Even when you get the money, you got to make sure you save and you say, well, is this enough? Is this enough? So that money is, you never get to that place of money that's enough. And then the support system is that to have that support, you have to be loved. You have to be wanted.
These things, I really appreciate that. These things haven't built overnight to be solved, so quickly. But if you share just one step for each of these battles that people can take to immediately feel the difference, it takes a long time, of course, to deal with these issues. But if they take one step that immediately they can feel the difference, what those steps would be.
The first step is come inside, meaning take responsibility, ownership. Don't blame anything that's happening on the outside. Well, this happened to me. So and so did this. My life was this way, and that's why I'm like this. So take ownership and responsibility, meaning you're closing the loop and you're coming in. This is my life. And now let me go see why things are happening the way they are. And from there, the awareness of builds in because now you get to see like, hey, I'm being triggered right now. If I don't point on the outside, this trigger is mine. Then where did this trigger start from? Why am I getting triggered right now?
I love it. It's so powerful. Thank you for sharing that. So, what coping strategy do you see most often that looks helpful on the surface, but quietly makes life smaller over time?
There's a lot of coping mechanism going on right now. There is the things people use is drinking, drugs. Now we've changed drugs into, microdosing. So it's okay if I'm using, let me use weed, ketamine, mushrooms, whatever it is. But they use it as an escape. So anything you use as an escape, even exercising, there are a lot of people, myself included in the past, I used exercise as a way to escape, especially my running. So anything you use like that to escape is going to come back and it's going to stop working at some point. So
That's a loving truth, not a judgment. People need that. I love it. In times like this, what does being grounded actually mean to you? Not the word, the lived experience.
the lived experience is to realize I am this life. I am existence. Everything is part of the same structure. Even now, through scientific words in quantum physics, they're coming back and saying the same thing. Everybody's saying the same thing. And the spiritual gurus and prophets, whatever, everybody was coming to this message that we are all one and we are all love. And that is our common ground. We are the same field of energy. And the more you realize this, the more you have that peace and joy inside, and it's not going to shake from whatever is going on the outside, because you see it as part of this natural flow and rhythm that we're all a part of, and things need to happen this way.
That's the difference between advice and wisdom. You speak about embracing the shadow. What's the cleanest way to explain shadow work to someone who's never heard the term without making it sound mystical or scary?
Yeah, a lot of terms we use, language we use, fortunately, unfortunately, I use it because Google and all those things, they got to find you somewhere. But shadow is just all those parts that you've hidden away and that you are not willing to see about yourself. All that pain, the sorrow, the fear, all those things that you don't want to really deal with. And sometimes what happens, especially as children, if we have a lot of things that's happened, we get to a point that we try to stuff things, put them in a box, forget about it, or, it sort of shows itself a little bit and you're like, okay, I saw you, now go back there because, nobody needs to find out about you and I don't want to deal with you because I got a plan. I got to move on this plan and you're just bothersome. So all those parts of yourself that you're not willing to sit with, to love, to accept, that's basically your shadow part. Nothing
That
scary about it.
your explanation makes it accessible, and accessibility is compassion. Thank you. A lot of people use spirituality as a way to stay positive while avoiding what hurts. How do you tell the difference between real growth and spiritual bypassing?
Very good question. Judgment is the biggest part of this, because even when we become, oh, I'm spiritual, and then you put that as an identity that I'm spiritual. Therefore, as I'm spiritual, I have to behave a certain way. I have to be a certain way. I have to think a certain way. And then again, that is judgment, right? So you're saying, as spiritual, this is good, this is bad. As spiritual, this is right, this is wrong. So you've created a new identity, which is going to, again, bypass the truth. But the work I do with everyone is to, first of all, see when you're creating an identity, you're living an identity. And it's not to say these personas, identities, we have to go kill them or resist them or reject them. Again, that's a part of you as well. This is all about love and acceptance. But when you recognize that, hey, I have created, again, another mask, another facade, to have people love me, want me, accept me, that's when you got to bring it in, see why this was created, how it's affecting your life. And then by just being aware of it, accepting it, loving it, it's sort of that everything shuts down, everything starts coming down, and it's healed, released. Those are the terminology we use.
I love that. That's a sharp distinction and it protects people from getting stuck. What shadow pattern in your own life took the longest to stop arguing with? And what finally helped you soften toward it?
Oh my God, I have to pick one? There were so many. I think the biggest one for me, would be that survival fear. That was a big one because of the way I grew up, the things that happened in my life, and having to have been in Iran during the revolution, the war, my whole, My parents got divorced when I was 2, and it was, like, very contentious divorce, and then all those other things that happened, moving here, so everything was about surviving, "What do I need to survive this?" And that pattern got bigger and bigger throughout my life, and that was probably one of the most challenging ones to sort of quiet down.
That level of honesty gives people permission to be human. Thank you for sharing
Yeah.
that. Has your definition of health changed over time from your younger self to now?
Yes, for sure. My younger self did not love herself or her body or her looks, and so there was a big fight that I had to look a certain way, be a certain way on the outside. And I remember even these grays when I decided, when I started loving myself just as I am, I stopped coloring my hair. I'm like, this is ridiculous. I don't even like this color that I'm putting on. And I stopped, and everybody around me, they were like, "What are you doing? This is unacceptable. And, you shouldn't be doing this." And, everybody had an opinion about me. It's the funny thing is it's my hair. I'm choosing something, and everybody had an opinion.
I
And
know.
I said, "No, this is what I'm doing." And funny enough, after my grades came out and everybody was, "Your hair looks so good." I'm like, "You were like 4 months ago, 5 months ago telling me what I'm doing." Yeah, just loving yourself means loving your body, loving everything about yourself, and not thinking too much about, "Oh, I got this extra weight," or "I got this, I got that." Even 2 years ago, ruptured my Achilles and I had to have surgery, and after that, my body shifted a lot. I couldn't, I'm still recovering from that injury 2 years ago, and with the age and everything, your body changes. So if you don't love and accept your body, then especially at older ages, it's gonna get tougher and tougher because your body's just not gonna move and behave the same way, especially if you're really active and are using exercise as an escape, then your body's gonna bring you to a point it's like, "Okay, you can't do that now. What are you gonna do now?"
Love it. That evolution that you just talked about is something a lot of people are living through. For someone dealing with chronic stress, low energy, or emotional overwhelm, what's one thing they misunderstand about their body, and what's a better way to see it?
I think just like those masks that we're trying to put on to be something in a certain environment, we do that same thing with our body as well. That if our body looks a certain way, feels a certain way, we feel we don't have power. Like a lot of people use their body as a way to feel powerful and strong. And if anything happens to them, their power goes away, right? And the other way is through love and acceptance. If I look a certain way, I'm accepted in a certain circles. And once you see that it's really not the truth, again, going back to my own body, again, because of all those things that happened, and especially as a female growing up Iran, even when I came here, it was a big factor for me to have physical strength. My physical strength made me feel empowered and powerful. And when I stopped and saw that, hey, my power is not really physical strength. I am powerful. That power comes from within, getting in touch with that source, that we are all that source. And same thing with the physical look, that this is not why people love me and accept me. If that has to come from inside of me, it's not about this look. It's whatever is, if I love and accept myself, then all of that goes away.
I believe that reframing can be a relief, not another burden. When you notice your nervous system getting overloaded, what's your personal reset that actually works?
Nature. Nature is the biggest reset. I even tell people if you don't have time to go for a walk in nature, just go sit outside next to a tree, put your feet on grass, whatever you can. Nature is guiding us of how life is supposed to be, what your natural rhythm and cycles are, living life through nature, looking at the animals and getting guidance. Like, look at how everything is, there's abundance. They're not worried about their survival. They're not, humans are worried about their survival. They're just living, they're just existing. And, you know, use that as an example and just being out there without your phone and being on, you'll connect with that and you'll feel that peace inside that's out there.
I love that. It's honest and it's usable. Now let's talk about something very important that many people are struggling with or dealing with. It's money anxiety. Money anxiety is everywhere right now, even for people who look fine. From your perspective, what's a healthy relationship with money that doesn't become fear driven or shame driven?
Money is a hard one because, again, it ties to that survival fear that everybody experiences. Even when people have enough money, they call it greed, that I want more. But I think somewhere deep, there is that survival fear that it's all going to go away. So they want more money to save it and to have it. I always tell people, for one thing, the first step is to change the money view to abundance view and looking at everything in your life through an abundant eye, meaning even the window, the chair, the clothes, the food, the air, the pavement, the tree, whatever, all of those things that you're seeing and is surrounding you is part of that abundance. But then also putting value on it. Meaning, when we don't value the things we have, value ourselves, value even a smile, we're not looking at it in terms of abundant. Money is money. Money comes through paycheck. Money is I have to do something to earn the money. But then when you shift that through abundance and seeing all this around me has value, and associate value with it. Like, a lot of the times I have moms that they're not working, they're home and they don't feel their value because they don't bringing in money. But I tell them, list all the things you're doing throughout the day. And then now say, if I were to hire someone to do all these things for me, how much would I pay them? That is your value. That is the money you're earning. That is your paycheck. And so look at it like that. What is the value of all these things? And a lot of times you can't even put value. It's so big. Like that, if your kid is having a hard time and you're just present with them and hugging them, how can you put value on that? And that shifts it. And then with that, you're opening yourself up that just like abundance is flowing to me in so many different ways and directions, so is money. Money can come to me in different forms and shapes and channels.
Beautiful. That's grounded. It doesn't glamorize money or demonize it. Where do you see fear hijacking people financially? Earning, spending, saving, or taking risk they don't even believe in?
All of those, to be honest, because the biggest one comes that I need money to survive. And when you have that belief that I need money to survive, then money is running the show. Money, and you'll do anything to earn it, save it, and, even using it because, well, I gotta look a certain way to get more money, right? You're not gonna come if I'm a bum in the street, you're not gonna come give me more money. I gotta look a certain way, have a certain way and say, "Oh, okay, she is deserving of money. She knows what she's talking about." So those are all those things that you, again, start to create in order to get more money.
That's so real. Financial choices reveal emotional patterns. What does financial independence mean to you when you strip away status? What's the emotional or spiritual version of it?
Again, I look at money as abundance and it can be in any way coming to me and not tying it to my worth or value. That even if I'm not making money, I still have value. There's a truth to our life right now that you cannot bypass and say, I'm just going to be a spiritual person and say, money doesn't mean anything and I don't like money. I don't want money. I would love if our humanity gets to a point where the Star Trek did it the best, that they said one of the shows they went back and said, throughout human history, money was a big factor, greed and all those things. And they destroyed that and allowed everybody to, that you have value in the community by whatever you are trying to do, whether you're an artist, whether you're a teacher, whether you're a mom. And as that, everybody had enough money. It wasn't like you needed money for your survival, for your home, for education, health, all those things. And I hope that our world structure starts to go in that direction so that people don't relate their value and dreams and what they want in terms of money. They can be who they are and know that everything, life is coming to support them.
That answer can change how someone builds their life. The motto of Beyond the Summit podcast is conversations that redefine freedom. So let's talk about freedom. A lot of people chase freedom externally, time, money, but still feel trapped inside. How do you define freedom today?
Freedom is space that is inside, that is not shaken. Even on the outside, you may be a certain way to others. They may see you different ways, and life may be upside down, topsy turvy, but you inside still have that peace and bliss because you understand and have felt that space of oneness. And that's the freedom that no matter what's going on here, I know I am beyond this physical form, beyond this body, and part of this oneness that we're all a part of. I'm this source of energy.
That definition feels earned, not borrowed. Thank you. If inner freedom and outer freedom don't arrive at the same time, which one should people build first and why?
Inner, for sure, inner. And it's not going to come at the same time. That's a very good point that you made. It's not going to be at the same time because once you establish that inner freedom, then you're not on the outside. It doesn't matter what is happening. You know, this is the truth and the rest is going to catch up. Even with the work I do, I often tell people when we're starting to do this healing work, you're going to see the changes happen in your life, in the patterns, behaviors, people around you, physical body and physical life. That's going to take a little bit longer for everything to settle down into this new way of living that you are, but definitely on the inside, because once you have that, nobody can take that away.
That's a real compass for people who are rebuilding. Now let's make it a little bit more practical. If someone watching or listening feels overwhelmed and wants a simple starting point, what are three practical steps they can take in the next 7 days?
Next 7 days, I would say, again, go back to nature. Start to do nature walks, 10 minutes sitting out there without any distractions and just for the purpose of connecting with nature, connecting with the trees, with the wind, with the river, with the squirrels, whatever is out there that you're seeing, just connecting with it and really feeling it inside, letting it come inside and knowing, realizing that you are a part of that. So just 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, however long you can, without any distractions and with the intention of just staying present and connecting with nature. And then the second one I would say, is that taking responsibility, that whatever happens, stop pointing the finger on life circumstance or the person or this or that, and bringing it in. Even if you're triggered, it's okay. Even at that point, you're saying, well, it's your fault. You said this, blah, blah, blah. And then later sit down, take a breath and say, okay, I did all that. Now let me see what was my part in this. Why was I triggered in the first place? Why was I upset? Why was I angry? And just give yourself time and go inside. And the third one, I would tell them that anytime those fears, anxieties, whatever emotion is coming up, don't follow the story. Meaning the emotion comes up and then that emotion, like your mind tries to bring the story, memory of whatever it's happened before. It's going to come attached to that emotion, and then you're lost in that story in your mind into whatever has happened or might happen in the future. But if you can just stay with that emotion, you can stay present in the now. And in the now, again, that breath, that natural rhythm of your body brings that emotion down completely.
That's gold. Atousa, you're giving people a bridge, not just insight. Ah, adorable. What's one small daily practice that gives the highest return on clarity and emotional stability, even if life is chaotic?
I would say how you start your day, meaning give yourself that time, whether it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes before getting out of bed, even to not rush to put on your mask and costumes and identities and get into your day. So at least 5 minutes, give yourself enough time to feel just like the existence of being in the now in your life. It's not even what does it mean? What am I grateful for? Don't do another gratitude practice, but just I'm alive. I get to live. I get to experience. And hey, I'm breathing. 5 minutes every morning. Start like that without getting into, I got to do this. I got to be this. I got to be, even, I got to be grateful. I have this. None of it. Just, hey, right now, right here. This is it. 5 minutes.
I love it. Small, repeatable, real. That's exactly what people need. What is a sign that someone is consuming too much content and not integrating enough? And what's one way to shift it into integration?
We're the different kind of content. So this is content and there's the reels content that you go like this and everything is trying to sell you something, be better, do this, do that. Or there's, so there's different type of content. Now you gotta, again, if you are consuming content and you feel like, hey, as I'm sitting here, my chest is becoming heavy, my stomach is heavy, even my neck, my shoulder, everything's becoming heavy. And oh no, now I'm anxious, now I'm angry. So that's telling you that's the wrong content. But if there's a content that brings you back to peace, brings you back into groundedness and love, and you feel lighter, you feel energized, empowered after consuming that content, that's a good content. It's like having a banana versus having a big donut, jelly-filled donut. One you're gonna feel like, "Oh, my stomach doesn't feel so good." And the banana, you're like, "Oh, this is good. Now I have fuel to go."
Yeah, you mentioned a great point. Honestly, right now that we are talking, I feel much lighter. That's my personal feedback. And thank you for that.
Thank you, thank you.
I'm in more peace now, right now.
Thank you, thank you.
Let's talk about your art. You are an artist, painter, visionary artist. When you paint, what are you listening for? What tells you the piece is true even before it's finished?
So the art I do, it's all I started out painting using acrylic and charcoal pastels, but then I shifted it into digital art. And the way I create my digital art is I love obviously nature and I take a lot of photos out when I'm in nature. And then those photos, sort of one of them feels like, okay, this is the start. And based on that, I start building on it. Sometimes a lot of the art is different photos that I've taken. I've manipulate them and I layer them in different ways. And I add sometimes paintings on top of it and colors and things like that. But when I start, I sort of have a feeling of what it is, and as I'm working on it, the message of it comes out, so all of them, they're either my words associated with it, my own quotes or poems, or Rumi poems that have come with them, and I even when I'm creating it, sometimes I have the sounds and vision of what the movement should be in this. And then once it's done, it's like there's a feeling it's like, okay, no, that's done now. I don't need to touch it. And then I do what I have augmented reality portion to the art so that when you look at it through the app, there's a video that plays that the art starts moving, there's music and everything. So it takes you even deeper into the story of the art.
That's beautiful. It connects art to intuition in a real way. For someone who says, I'm not creative, what would you say to help them reclaim creativity as a human trait, not as a talent?
It's funny, so I never thought I was, creative either, especially growing up in Iran, art is not something or at least when I was growing up in my household, something that was encouraged. Also, a lot of times when people start out, and I've seen this in kids, the art teacher's like, "Well, it has to look this way, and this is not art, and that's not art." So creativity to me is you're living. Your life is creation. It's funny. So this artwork behind me is called Creation in Motion. And it talks about you are, you are built from the four elements of life. And these elements come together and been created out of that and you're living this life. How can you not be anything but just creative in life itself? So whenever you feel you're not creating or creative, are you cooking? Are you doing anything in your life? That is all creation. Doesn't need to be, "Oh, I'm a great artist, or I'm a chef, I'm a this, I'm a that." Whatever you're doing in your life, I can come and show you how you're being creative.
That's freeing. People have been boxed in for too long. Wow. When you hear the words beyond the summit, what does that mean to you personally?
It was funny. I didn't even had looked at the logo, but for me, feels like you have reached summit, obviously mountaintop. You've reached it and now you're going beyond that. And for me, it's like you've lived life and now you've come to an understanding. And how is this understanding taking you beyond to the next step, beyond to how you want to live life and be in your life?
That's one of the most beautiful definitions that I've ever heard. Thank you. So, Atusa, is there anything that you rarely talk about or you wanted to talk about for a long time? If there is, this is the time.
Honestly, no. I'm an open book. I always in interviews when they tell me it's like, "Is there a no-no? Should we not talk about it?" It's like, "Talk about anything you want. I'm open." And like I said at the beginning, when you asked that question, if my life, the way I do things can be of help, assistance to anybody, I'm glad to share. There is, the book that you mentioned, Change Yourself, Change the World. A lot of my own life is in there, and in podcasts and things like that. I always share everything. So, no, I'm just grateful to be here. I love these opportunities to be able to speak and allow people to take in information however they will. And if even if they can shift a little bit, that's great.
Fantastic. Tusa, thank you for your depth, your honesty, and how grounded you keep this conversation. You didn't just share ideas, you gave people a way to see themselves more clearly and a way to start. I'm grateful you join us on Beyond the Summit. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you to your audience and giving me this platform. I appreciate all that you do. This is really important work, and I'm glad you're bringing these messages to the people. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Until next time, keep climbing your own summit.